Hello, my name is Tofu, and I absolutely love Banjo-Kazooie. It's one of my favorite franchises ever, and Banjo and Kazooie themselves are straight up my two favorite characters of all time. Their games have helped me through a lot of really tough times, and I've developed a deep emotional connection to the bear and bird. They just make me happy, and I love them so much. You know who doesn't love them, though? Super Smash Bros. Fans. No one loves them either. I kid, I'm a Smash fan myself. I don't care about watching or playing much in the competitive side of things. I just think the sheer concept of so many video game characters being in one place is, well, incredible really. But there's definitely a divide between Smash fans like me and Smash fans who... well, I'm not even sure if they like the game, to be honest, because all they do is complain about it. And circling back to what I was initially talking about, one of the things I see them complain about a lot is Banjo and Kazooie's inclusion in the game, mainly regarding whether or not they actually deserved their spot on the roster.
Spoiler for my main point of the video, they do.
I should mention that a large majority of the debate I've witnessed occurs on Twitter, so you may get the impression that this is a super petty video critiquing the opinions of random strangers on the internet that insulted my favorite fictional characters, because that's what it is. So what are people saying? Well, first, there was this whole fiasco after Kazuya was revealed, where people felt the need to say that Tekken is way more popular than Banjo-Kazooie. Secondly, piggybacking off of that point, people claimed that Banjo-Kazooie was actually never popular, comparing the sales numbers of it to Croc of all things. And finally, a more general opinion that I see often is that Banjo and Kazooie have a terrible moveset, and are thus a wasted slot on the roster. I can't possibly stand by and watch my bear and bird be bombarded by this brutal bullying any longer. I am their strongest soldier and I will defend them until the bitter end. End of first paragraph? As far as I can tell, the Banjo-Kazooie debate first sprung up when Nintendo YouTuber Arlo posted his reaction to Kazuya's reveal trailer. Now, if you know anything about Arlo, you may know that Twitter doesn't always like his opinions on things. So just what was this horribly controversial thing that he said in his video?
It's not gonna have a massive reach, you know, it's not a Banjo, it's not a whatever.
It's not gonna have a massive reach, it's not a Banjo. Okay, let's play a fun game of what did they mean by that? I know, he meant Kazuya was not as highly requested for Smash as Banjo and Kazooie were, therefore less people will be happy about his reveal. Now then, let's play another fun game of what did Twitter think they meant by that? Tekken isn't as popular as Banjo-Kazooie. What? No one was ever claiming that Banjo-Kazooie was a more popular franchise than Tekken because it's absolutely not. However, Banjo and Kazooie as characters had far more demand for Smash Bros. Specifically than Kazuya ever had. Hell, I had barely ever seen anyone asking for Tekken characters in general, but Banjo and Kazooie were always dominating lists of most wanted characters. Sakurai himself has confirmed that they were pretty close behind Sora in the fighter ballot, and given how massive the reaction to Banjo and Kazooie in Smash was at the time of their reveal, that adds up. Tekken has been around since before Banjo-Kazooie and has continued to have a ton of consistent game releases after it. Obviously, it is the more popular franchise. Banjo and Kazooie were just a way bigger deal in terms of being Smash fighters. In fairness, the original poster of this tweet did realize what Arlo had meant after they posted it, but there were still a ton of people agreeing with them, even though they were completely wrong. In fact, this led to an entirely different debate, which was even more stupid. The very same day as the Tekken discourse, another tweet was made that said the following: Nintendo YouTubers have dominated gaming discourse online for so long that they've shaped what we consider as popular or iconic about the past. Banjo-Kazooie sold around 3 million units. You know what else sold that much? Croc Legend of the Gobos. This tweet has since been deleted, and I don't know the circumstances as to why. I obviously don't think negatively of any of the people behind these tweets, but they once again got a lot of likes and a lot of people agreeing with them, and personally, I think this is a very poor argument. First of all, sales numbers do not dictate the quality nor the legacy of a game. Sales can give you an idea of the reception of a game at the time of its release, but not all of the time that passes afterward. Even still, the PS1 sold 3 times as well as the Nintendo 64, meaning in terms of game-to-console ratios, Banjo-Kazooie was 3 times as successful on the N64 than Croc was on PlayStation. Croc also got pretty mixed reviews at its release, whereas Banjo-Kazooie was critically acclaimed. And as far as sequels go, Croc 2 only sold 500,000 copies, and Banjo-Tooie sold another 3 million. I'm not trying to dunk on Croc here, I've only ever played a tiny bit of it, and honestly, I would love to give it a proper try. I love Scrimblow-Bimblows. All I'm saying is you can't use two games' identical sales figures to claim that the legacy of said games is also identical, because they're absolutely not. If they were, then Croc would have also dominated the Smash ballot, and he wasn't even a runner-up in the Scrimblow department. Another part of this argument I disagree with is the notion that YouTubers have changed what was popular about the past. While it is true that a lot of Nintendo YouTubers praised Banjo-Kazooie in the 2000s and 2010s era of YouTube, I fail to understand how that nullifies any popularity gained from them during that time. Games can get more popular years after they release, especially if a person with a large enough following shows off how cool it is. Just look at Among Us. It's not like there's an expiration date on popularity. Like, oops, sorry, you're only allowed to be relevant the year after you're released. Any praise you get after that point doesn't count. No! Do you know how many kids that weren't born in the 90s were exposed to Banjo-Kazooie during that era of the internet, and then played the game on emulator to experience it themselves, therefore contributing to the popularity of a game without contributing to its original sales numbers? A lot of kids! Source, I was one of them. Now sure, this boost in popularity wasn't anything too insane, nor was it exclusive to Banjo and Kazooie, but you know how I know they were still popular regardless? Yeah, it's not exactly a mystery.
Guys, Banjo and Smash!
I know I'm biased to the moon and back, but there is nothing you can do to convince me that Banjo and Kazooie don't deserve their spot on the Smash roster. I think I need to emphasize the popularity Banjo-Kazooie gained thanks to YouTube again, because everyone made videos about this game. People still make videos about this game. I'm making a video about this game. Seriously, nearly every top 10 most wanted Smash Fighters video talked about Banjo and Kazooie, and it's not hard to imagine why. Their game is beloved, they have a ton of moves to work with, and since they've been at Microsoft for so long, putting them in Smash was the perfect way to get them back on a Nintendo console. It wasn't just during the Brawl or Smash 4 eras of YouTube though. According to Sakurai himself, Banjo and Kazooie have been highly requested characters since Melee. It is no surprise at all that they did so well in the Smash ballot after all of those years of support. And it all finally paid off, because in June 2019, Banjo and Kazooie were revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And everyone was happy. I especially love the Nintendo Store reaction to this, because it just gets progressively louder. But not long after they were released for Ultimate's DLC, something changed, and the opinions of these characters became extremely negative. Now, I don't know the precise competitive jargon, but apparently Banjo and Kazooie's moveset is less than favorable to both play as or play against at high-level play. Something about how their egg projectiles encourage a campy playstyle, and how they don't really have a unique fighting gimmick compared to other DLC characters. I don't know, I guess people just find their moveset annoying, so no one really uses them in the competitive scene. Basically, Smash fans often say things like, haha, it took all this time for Banjo and Kazooie to come to Smash, but Sakurai ruined their moveset and now no one plays as them. Okay, so if you don't like fighting against a certain character's moveset, that's fine. There are plenty of Smash characters who I think are annoying to fight, but what were you expecting their moveset to be? Out of almost every other fighter in the game, Banjo and Kazooie's moveset is probably the most faithful to the moves in their original games. We had over 20 years to have an idea of what their Smash moveset would be. Why did people vote for them in the ballot if they didn't want a playstyle like this? To that, you may say something like, well, people probably cared more about the characters simply being in the game rather than the moveset they'd end up having. And ding ding ding, that is the point. It seems to me that the competitive Smash community thinks that the entire game revolves around them, when that is so far from the truth. Competitive Smash Bros. Cannot compare to the amount of people who simply have fun with the game casually, as well as people who just enjoy seeing how all these different franchises are creatively represented. Hi, that's me. I know this may press a few buttons, but Smash has and will always be more successful as a party game than it is as a competitive fighting game. But that's kinda getting into an entirely different argument. My point is, even though Banjo and Kazooie hardly hardly get any use in the competitive scene, that doesn't mean no one uses them at all. Every character is used by casual Smash players all the time. Source, again, me, I boot up Smash Ultimate all the time solely to casually play as Banjo and Kazooie, and I absolutely would not have played the game as much as I have if they were not in it. And I'm sure there are plenty of other characters on the roster that same logic applies to plenty of other people for. As for the lack of gimmick thing, not every character needs a gimmick. The majority of the roster doesn't have one, and considering these are classic characters, it kind of makes it feel like they've been meant to be here the whole time. A point I think is valid though is that you do have to pay separately for DLC characters, hence why most of them do have some sort of unique gimmick. In that case, Wonder Wing is kind of there, but of course it's very limited. As perfect as I think Banjo and Kazooie's moveset is in terms of honoring their games, I do think there was a bit of a missed opportunity with not giving them the split-up gimmick from Banjo-Tooie. This would allow you to play as the duo both together and separately. That's essentially 3 different movesets in one, like Pokemon Trainer. I could make a whole separate video talking about adding split-up to their Smash movesets, so stay tuned for that, maybe? But for now, let's get back to the topic at hand. I think I've made my point pretty clear by now that a lot of the hate Banjo-Kazooie has gotten recently is both entirely unnecessary and also built on a ton of flimsy arguments. But the fact still remains that those arguments were made by a lot of people, so why? If the hate is unjustified, then where did all of the negativity come from? Well, I have a bit of a theory, and it goes beyond people just hating Banjo and Kazooie. I think that there's a certain subset of Smash fans who literally just hate classic beloved characters that other people want to see make a comeback. Another victim of this negativity is Geno from Mario RPG. Like Banjo and Kazooie, he was a classic character that was widely popularized by the internet, has been highly requested for Smash since the beginning, and had seemingly been forgotten for years. You know, until now. Unfortunately, the mere thought of Geno being in another game was enough to send a decent amount of people into a frenzy, saying things like, Geno fans are gonna be so annoying now. I even saw people saying this in response to fan art of Geno, like, how miserable do you have to be? I think a lot of people mistake the hype these characters get as people trying to say that they're iconic to gaming as a whole, but that's obviously not true. They were just very popular back when the internet was a smaller place, and have managed to maintain that cult following over the years because hey, these are some good-ass characters from some good-ass games. And just because they've been irrelevant doesn't mean they haven't been influential. Anyway, I'm assuming the spite towards these characters comes from people who are angry that their favorite character didn't get added to Smash. So they take it out on characters that did get in, as well as characters who didn't, yet still have their cult following. And I'm also going to assume that younger, impressionable Nintendo fans see people dunking on older characters that they don't know too well because they are young, and join in on the dunkage because they have even less attachment to these scrimblows. But hey, that's just a theory. Again! So yeah, I think the answer to all this is just as simple as the Smash fanbase has gotten very toxic over the years, and there are certain opinions that should probably just be ignored. You know, instead of making a 15-minute video essay in response to it. Look, the point is, the way these characters function in the competitive scene is only a fraction of their importance to the overall game and everyone who plays it. Especially for characters like Banjo and Kazooie, who have been beloved for years due to their memorable yet short-lived success in the past. Basically, what I'm saying is,
stop hating on Banjo and Kazooie!